This was me in 2020. I was scrolling through my phone and I saw some of the uploads that I've done over the years. And I wanted to share this footage because I think it's really important to show that the name of the game is consistency. If you want to get results, then you have to do something that you're able to stick to. For me, that means building muscle mass, becoming stronger, but that doesn't mean that it has to be the same definition for you. Whatever results mean to you, you have to find ways that allow you to stay consistent over the year. Have your own plan, have your own path. Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 10 or even chapter 100, because everyone is going through this journey at a different pace. Everyone has a different path laid out. So it's just important for you to figure out what you want to achieve, what you want to do, and what you are able to do, what the plan could be for you in order to actually achieve those results. And always remember that any movement is better than no movement, and that progress is always more important than perfection. Because sometimes, especially when you're scrolling on social, it looks like there are so many rules attached to this entire fitness thing or even other journeys that you may go through. And then sometimes it can be so overwhelming that you end up not starting or giving up, but always progress over perfection. This is how I've been defining progress after I read about this a couple of months ago. I think I came across it on social while I'm making up my plates because I'm actually making lunch before I'm training. But you need 3 daily wins: a physical one, a mental one, and a spiritual one. And if you can stick to those 3, you'll be amazed by how much growth you'll experience in a short amount of time. Today, we are focusing on the physical win. So I'm going to the gym with you and we are going to train our glutes. I'm taking you with me through the entire session and I'm going to show you what I do, how I do it, and why I do it. And we're going to start with the beginning. We're going to lay the foundation for a great workout, which is the warm-up. I'm diving right into the dynamic stretches, but if you have cardio equipment available in your gym, then I would spend 5 to 10 minutes on it just as a general warm-up. Get your heart rate up, get your blood flowing before you move on to the dynamic stretches. So the goal with the dynamic stretches is to prep your body, prep your joints. We're not doing any static holds here. We're merely just going through the movement. It's also a great way of kind of assessing like how your body is feeling, what you're going through, if something feels tight. And actually, to start with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 10 or 8 deep squats just to kind of feel if something needs a little bit more attention today. So with a deep squat, what you don't want to do is round your back as you go through the squat. So whatever feels comfortable for you, that's how low you can go, while making sure that your back stays straight, chest up. And then, as I said, use this as a check-in point with yourself or check-in time. See if something needs a little bit more attention. Besides my dog today, it is my hips, as always. We're staying in this deep squat position. Make sure that your feet are flat on the ground, that your back is straight, chest is up, and then go as low as is comfortable for you. So if you're sitting here while maintaining a straight back, that's perfectly fine. And then you are going to use your elbows to kind of open up your knees and find a little bit of movement in this position, because as I said, we're not doing any static stretches. This is just to help me with opening up my hips. Next up, we're in a lunge position. Make sure that your pelvis is tucked. What we're doing is we're shifting our weight forward. Make sure that your knee travels in line with your toes. It's okay if they go over your toes, but just make sure that you are in alignment when you're doing this. And we're just going to do this for a couple of times, like 6 or 8 reps. Same side, just shifting the weight. And then we're moving on to some ankle mobility before we're switching sides. The next one, we're going to look for some rotation in our spine. This is great to improve your mobility, your flexibility, but mainly the reason why I do rotation in my warm-ups for my spine is to help with engaging any stabilizing muscles, especially your core, because whenever I'm doing deadlifts and hip thrusts, as I'll do today, a strong and engaged core is essential for maintaining proper form and stability. So rotation it is. The first exercise of today is a hip thrust in the Smith machine. I like doing the hip thrust in the Smith machine because it has a fixed resistance path, which means that it ensures proper alignment of your body. It also means that the stabilizing muscles won't really work that hard compared to when you would do a hip thrust with just a barbell or free weights, and that can also help with minimizing the risk of injury, which is why this is a great exercise for beginners too. It's also great for advanced lifters because usually when you do exercises in a machine, it can help with overloading because it can be a little bit safer, again, because it reduces the risk of injury. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm doing the hip thrust, and I use a step just because I want to make sure that I elevate my upper body. I rest my shoulder blades against the step, but I found that when I use an actual bench, it's actually a little bit too high for me, and I have a greater my muscle connection whenever I do it with just a step. So that's exactly what we're doing today. Resistance paths is actually one of the variables that I don't talk often about, but it is really helpful whenever you're doing program design because it's also a really important factor that you can play around with whenever you are making your workouts or deciding, on what exercise you want to do and in what way, because every variation of a specific exercise will actually target your muscles slightly differently. That being said, let's move on to some warm-up sets first, and then we're actually moving on to the working sets. My approach when it comes to warm-up sets is that I usually do it for the first compound lift that is planned for the day, and I do 50, 70, and 90% of the load of the working set as a warm-up set, so 3 sets, and then I do 5, 3, and 1 reps. The goal is to get your body prepped, not to get fatigued, and I focus on the first exercise of the day. Next exercise that we are doing is an RDL. I'm doing it in the Smith machine as well, just because I'm now already stationed at the Smith machine, so I'll just stay here. But I often do dumbbell RDLs instead of barbell RDLs, and the reason for that is that I just really like to train with free weights. Barbell is a free weight as well, but with the dumbbell you can individually change the resistance path of the dumbbells. So you don't have to stay in a straight line. You can kind of curve them depending on what feels right. And for me, sometimes when I try to retract my shoulder blades, it's easier to do it when I also turn my hands outwards, and therefore a dumbbell can be helpful. But again, I feel like overloading is easier with the barbell, so I usually cycle between them whenever I program my workouts. But now I'm doing it on the Smith machine, and I'll just take 2 plates off and then wrap it with the 20 kgs plates. My glutes are already so sore from the hip thrust, so let's see how this goes. To get most out of your RDLs, make sure that you don't actually lock out at the top and kind of rest there. Maintain that tension on your hamstrings and on your glutes. If you've seen my other workout videos before, then you know that I'm a big fan of incorporating unilateral work, so single leg or single limb exercises. So in this case, I'm doing a single leg press. Now, I felt that my feet were a little bit slippery, which I should have worn shoes. But again, the thought of me having to go down the stairs an extra time while just finishing my hip thrust and my RDLs, I was like, that's not going to happen. So what I did instead is I did a B stance. So with the B stance, what you do is you basically focus on the working leg, which is the leg that is up higher on the leg press, and then you assist with the non-working leg and the weight distribution. In my case, I tried to make it like 90-10 or 80-20, so really focusing on that working leg. Then I was done with the compounds and I moved on to isolation work. The first isolation exercise is a seated leg curl for the hamstrings. With this one, I really try to hold it for 1 or 2 seconds at the bottom of the movement, as you can see here. And then I try to slowly lower the weight. The thing with filming yourself, which is great to do if you can, if you have the opportunity to, because you'll see things that feel so different. So I felt like I was going so slow with this exercise, and actually seeing the footage back makes me realize that I should have gone even more slow and control the weight even better. The main takeaway from today's session is that you have to make it yourself difficult. You are training, you are working out. You have to actively make sure that you are fighting resistance and don't just let the weight go. But the final exercise for today is a cable kickback isolation exercise. I start with my best leg because then I have a better mind muscle connection and I can copy and paste that feeling to my left leg. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.